Advisory Council. First meeting of the new year, so welcome everybody, and first meeting where we've got all our members present in person, right? Right. And I want to thank everybody for making the effort to come out given the weather today, so thank you for that. So first order of business is accepting the minutes from the December meeting, which was our last meeting. So I make a motion to accept those minutes.
Second.
Okay, seconded, great. And then next agenda item, Chris, I guess you should take the lead on this.
Yes, so election of officers, we do this every calendar year. We have the positions of chair, which Frank serves as now, and vice chair, which Sarah serves as. Really, the purpose of the chair and vice chair, I usually handle the kind of like secretary portion, note taking and so forth. The chair obviously runs the meeting. I work with Frank ahead of the meeting to prepare the agendas. And we're usually a pretty casual group, but if we're experiencing a lot more people, or if there's a lot on the agenda, the chair's role is to kind of keep us moving in the right direction and keep us going with the agenda. Purpose of the vice chair is if the chair can't fulfill those duties that night or something like that, steps in. And then also kind of as Frank has certainly been doing, it's nice to have someone recognized representing to the public. I know you participated in some of the Lehigh Valley EAC meetings and so forth. And then oftentimes people might reach out to the chair or direct to staff related to EAC information. So what we'll do is first we will ask for nominations. So you all can nominate someone here to serve as that chair position. If that person wants to accept that, then we accept that, we vote on it, and then we'll do the same thing with the vice chair. So I will open up to any nominations for the position of chair.
I nominate Frank.
Okay.
I second it.
Frank, you accept the nomination. Okay. So,
Can we go fourth, fifth?
yeah. So is there a vote for Frank? Votes in the form of aye for Frank to serve as chair for 2026.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay.
Except for Frank, maybe.
Oh, Frank, you're so good.
Sorry, Frank.
I will open it up for the position of vice chair to serve in the duties if Frank is unavailable. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I'll certainly nominate Sarah.
I was gonna nominate Derek.
Well, he got it first. Do you accept the nomination? We'll take
How does
votes.
that work if I want to nominate someone else? I don't know how that works.
Wait, do you accept the nomination and we'll do a vote, or, yeah, and then, okay, well, do you accept the nomination first, and then if you want to
Would you
nominate
be willing
Derek?
to consider?
I
Would you be
accept the
willing?
nomination.
Yes.
Okay. And you're saying that you nominate Derek?
Yes.
Do you accept,
You know, it hasn't not officially yet.
do you accept the nomination?
I'm actually gonna say no, I don't have the time to.
Okay.
to this.
All right, Sarah.
So that's also
Good
information for
try.
everybody. Are there any other nominations for this position? Okay, if not, voting for Sarah for vice chair. Vote indicating Sarah's vice chair with aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, all in favor. All right, Sarah.
6-1, you're the only, what, you're the
I
only
like
guy.
how it's the easiest one ever.
Craig, Chris, while we're on the topic of officers, just sort of a related item. Two of you have terms that are expiring at the end of this year. I don't know if it's you two.
Not us. Yeah.
But you have to formally apply to extend your membership if you're interested in doing that. My term expired in December, so I was renewed for a three-year term, but because I was nominated for 1 year, two of you were nominated for 2 years and 2 for 3 years, so two of you have.
We're the three.
Yeah, I thought you.
Yeah.
Two. Okay, so Derek and Mark just.
The same thing, fill out the form, email it in.
Yes, and
Yeah, we'll say it's not the volunteer application form, it's a resubmission form. So we'll send it out probably, I think, when did we send it? Like October, maybe?
I think I prompted.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I certainly asked the question before I received the form.
Okay.
So I don't know if it would have come out.
We will, yeah, so it looks like it is Derek and Mark.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll make sure that we send you, it's a slightly different than the volunteer application. Oh, here, this is it. Letter of intent for board reappointment form. So that's on there now. They just switched everything around.
Oh,
I know
you've already
Tracy
seen
in our
that?
office has done a lot to get all of this.
Yeah, you don't have to do it now, but I mean,
Yeah.
I would say
Can
probably.
you send it to us? Derek?
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm sorry, Frank.
Yeah, it'll probably be like second, third quarter of the year. And then,
Okay.
so what you're agreeing to is to be reappointed because your appointments, you basically have like first shot to say, do you want to stay on before
Okay.
we open up a new position? And that's why it's important to get that in. And then, as Frank said, he's gone through the process.
Okay,
It's in,
cool.
and then he's reappointed for a new series of.
So, because right now the board is fully staffed, so if someone else wants to join, it would require one of us to drop out.
Are we only there till April? I'm sorry. Does that say 4/26?
You know what? I will check on that because
Oh, yeah.
part of that was we started in April, so your resolutions might say April. I will, thank you for bringing this up, Frank. I will check with Tracy this week and we'll get that, we'll look at that right away. And if so, then I will send both of you
Sure.
that form this week,
Okay.
fill that out, get that in, and then we'll get you.
And will it tell us where to send it to?
Yeah, you can just send it back to me, and I'll copy Tracy Fainall in the administration office.
Do I print it off and just fill it out and
Yeah.
mail it to you?
And then it's, we'll have to put a resolution on the agenda to actually give you the full term, because everyone has staggered terms, so
Right.
it might be April. Thank you for calling that out. I'm sorry, we didn't see this. I will look at that this week with Tracy.
My original letter, mine was definitely December of 25. So I thought it was, they said 1 year, 2 year, 3 year term, so
And you should be on a 3-year now.
I'm on 3 year now, so
Yeah.
that has to be updated.
Yeah,
So we'll automatically, Derek and I will be on a 3-year one and renew it.
yes.
As long as the board approves it.
Right, gotcha, understand.
And it'll go till December. We don't like to have these like halfway
Staggered.
through the year.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know that they've been changing things around. What the goal is they want to make sure that they don't have a point where everybody's term expires at one time.
Sure.
And there's ways that it's staggered to do that. So I will confirm, they just adopted a new policy about that at the end of last year. Thank you for bringing that up.
As we all know, me not being part of this group doesn't stop me from coming to these meetings.
Yeah.
They are open to public.
At least then I couldn't be nominated for things from Sarah too.
Okay, ready to move on? So
Yes.
next agenda item is the annual report. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. I don't know if anybody else sent in any comments. I had one comment, Chris, that we captured. So I'll make a motion to accept the annual report.
Wait,
Do
Frank.
you want to make your comment first?
No, you already
No, I already
sent
did.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I-
because we had this for the
Oh, I saw it.
January event, agenda, so he sent it, I think it was after January. What was it? It
It was
was,
the Revolution Recycling.
Yes.
Oh,
Re-
I'm sorry, yeah.
Revolution recovery
Yeah.
wasn't in
Yeah.
there.
Wasn't in our.
Yeah, that, so you already know that, Chris?
Mhm.
Okay, and the other thing I noticed is that under speakers and education, Carrie's last name is Reider, just so we know that from
Oh.
Brookfield Township.
Oh, thank you.
REI.
He'll be so upset that I do.
I don't know.
I've known Carrie a very
Yeah,
long
that's
time.
good.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry,
so
yeah.
make a motion to accept the annual report with the edit that Marie has suggested. So,
Second, a second.
second, any objections? Okay. Then I guess it's accepted.
So what I'll do is, I will send that then potentially in March, most likely in April, to the Board of Commissioners. So, they get all of those reports from the advisory boards. they read through those, and then if they have any follow-up questions, they let staff know.
The next agenda item is just a general item on land development. Obviously, we're all aware that there are some contentious projects that may be coming our way. Just wanted to clarify the role of the EAC here. Our comments with regard to these projects are going to really be focused on the environmental impact statements that are prepared for the projects and presented to us. And so, just a reminder, we don't approve or decline projects. That's not our role. So our role is to just look at the projects that are being proposed and comment on the environmental aspects of those projects as we see fit.
And just a quick note, beyond that, we're really trying to move forward on updating the rest of the subdivision land development ordinance to specify the EAC's role. We talked about a checklist previously, developing a checklist with this group of what we would review for all land development. So we're hoping to get that maybe by Q3 of this year.
And I guess the other aspect that Chris and I talked about is that, as members of this committee, it's important that we don't be seen as taking a pro or con position on any land development projects as an EAC member. I mean, obviously, as private citizens, you're free to do whatever you want, but just be careful that you make that distinction. And we don't want to be seen as the EAC, approves this project or doesn't approve this project, because again, that's not our role.
Yeah, so when you review the first project, what we do is we take that and we put your comments into a memo to the planning commission, and that gets reviewed by the planning commission. They consider those comments. They may add on to that. They may have follow-up. And you'll usually see a response as well from the applicant to those memorandums.
And that's the same thing that's already being done by Parks and Rec and by Shade Tree. So it would just be one additional review and advisory comments to these projects.
Chris, do you think you could point us to some examples of any of the advisory council's comments?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Assuming they're all public, that's why I was.
Yeah, so for next meeting, what I'll do is I'll prepare a list of memos and things like that.
Are they on the website or?
Yeah, a good example.
I'm trying to make it easy for you.
It depends on the project. So they would be for each project. So we haven't had land development in a while. The last 2 planning commission meetings were canceled, so there's not something easy I can pull up, but I can give you, so for example, this is the landscape and shade tree packet. These are the memos that were prepared for some of the land developments that we reviewed with them. So I will prepare a good list of comments, more substantive comments from Shade Tree or Park and Rec, Public Safety Commission, something like that, and I'll send you guys those as guidance in your next packet, or even before then.
It looks like it's not typically annotated though. It's more sort of an overall, if it's a memo.
Well, that's where these are pretty short comments.
Okay.
I have a good one from the Park and Recreation Commission that's probably 3 pages long.
Okay, gotcha.
And so that'll be helpful because that also is a good example. One of the last projects we looked at with them, they comment on specific sections of the code that needed to be met.
Sure.
So when you guys are reviewing the impact statements for this project, you can kind of reference that.
And the more specific we are, the more,
Yes,
Good.
yeah.
Chris, do you also have any examples of environmental impact statements that have been prepared for prior projects? And you just
No, this is the first. So the
Okay.
environmental impact statement is new to the PERT, specifically to data center projects. And the question came up through the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission Industrial Land Use Guide forums where they had public engagement on, are there other examples of that? That's something that staff came up with in the development of the PERT, really without a lot of guidance from anywhere else. It was our goal to take some of the conditional use requirements and kind of codify those. But so we haven't had anything yet.
Right. But I think one of the things that'll be important for us to look at is, whether we think that the environmental impact statement is complete.
Yeah, the
And
quality of
if
the
we don't
analysis.
see,
Yeah.
if there's certain aspects that we think related to environmental issues that aren't addressed in the environmental impact statement, then I think we have the right to go back to the applicant and say, this is not sufficient.
Or if we're concerned about some of the assumptions they're making, or things are just
Yeah,
not.
right, yeah.
If I can someone email me that request so I can check and see if any of the Navy sites, it's all public information. I could look at one of my sites. We have a huge database of all our previous files. I could look for one of those if you want an example.
So it's not a federal environmental impact
Oh, so
statement.
it's not like the big,
No,
like NEPA
no,
one or
and that
anything? Okay.
was actually a question of the applicant. And it's not that, it's very specific in the code. And I think I may have sent that out before, but I'll send it out before that project comes to being reviewed here, just to let you kind of know. And I just talked to Maria about it last week, like what we're looking for specifically is in the code of ordinances for the questions that they need to answer or the things that they need to talk about, not environmental impact analysis or statement like related to like NEPA compliance or
Okay.
anything.
Well, there was an example in the documentation you sent out that was supposed to be presented to the planning commission that got pulled back. There was an impact study, and there was like an addendum that was specifically on environmental issues. So I'm
Yes,
assuming it's going to be something like that.
So all of the everything that was submitted by the applicant is on the planning commission page.
Right.
So it's in there. Their environmental impact statement is in there. So you can review that. Now they will be resubmitting.
Right.
So that's where I would suggest looking at everything that they've already submitted.
And I don't know, has
Run
anybody
through
else done that? I mean, I've looked at the documents. You, Brian, you had some comments.
So that was one you had comments on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked that over, not in
Okay.
a review capacity, but.
But so I would, encourage everybody to at least take a look at the environmental impact. So it was only like 3 or 4 pages, so it won't take long to read if you got a few minutes just to kind of see what we can expect.
So if you go to the township calendar, if you look at the February 12th Planning Commission meeting, which is where Project Atlas was proposed to be on the agenda, it has, here's the public notice requirements. That's one of the plans that was pulled, and then here's Project Atlas. So the land development plans are all through here, and then all of these supplemental required items that had to be submitted by the applicant are also here. So the impact statement that Frank is referring to is here. This is kind of the community and more of a fiscal impact, but then at the end of this, you'll see an environmental impact, they call it analysis. And this is the statement that they needed to meet. So before we'll make sure I can get you guys all of the kind of step-by-step on the section of the code to review against this. But a lot of this is direct to answer. So these are the topics that they needed to answer, which is in our code.
Okay.
Answering these subjects.
I think we can navigate and find that.
I meant like I'll send you the code.
Chris sent us a link in the last.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Minutes, and I mean, in the agenda, so.
The question I have is not in delving deep, it's a lighter one, but how many times can they resubmit?
As far as a new project,
Making changes or making.
if it's a resubmission, it's just continuing to go. So they need to, I mean, it's time and money on their end,
Yeah.
unless they're asking for a decision to be made. So right now we have an obligation to respond within 90 days, make a decision within 90 days. If the applicant is okay with allowing the township to have more time to review the plans, they can allow us more time. Our typical time waiver is 6 months. So it's really, if they want to give more time, I mean, we can have all the time in the world to not make a decision. That means that they can't move forward, but it also means they're not denied. So that's kind of on the applicant as to how much time they want to spend. I mean, they have money posted in escrow. Every time that we're reviewing it or engineers are reviewing, that's all they're build those hours, so, as far as resubmission, I could check, I don't know if it's indefinite,
I don't, it's
but,
not a burning question, it's just one that I had when I was reading over it.
yeah.
We keep going back and forth.
Usually people want an answer. They want to know, can we move forward on this? Or if they don't know if that's going to, a lot of times if it's questions that still need to be answered, it is beneficial for the applicant to continue that and say, okay, well, give us more time to put more together, or let's continue to try to achieve this. But
Right. Thank you.
And a question, kind of more crazy thing, is do some of these projects actually do multiple townships? Like, so if one township, like this doesn't work out, we have option B or option C? Or do they put all their eggs in one
If
basket?
someone is submitting a project in one township and they don't move forward with it, will they submit another township?
I mean, do they all put in multiple townships just to cover their rear end? Just to say, okay, let's just say, for example, South Whitehall Township, the parameters are too great or things are dragging too much. So they go,
sure, yeah.
so they go like, you know what, we're gonna let that go and we're gonna go with whatever. I'll
You're
put 'em a
saying,
country.
you're saying submitting simultaneously
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah,
I doubt you see much of that.
really?
That'd be ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what, we're not talking normal land development. like
Right, of
normal.
course
You're
not.
talking more data center specific
Yeah,
projects.
this.
I don't know. I
pockets
mean,
of some
it's
that may be-
all, this is all new to everybody. So I would say it's a lot of time and money invested, but I also do think that there's probably there's a drive for this type of development. And I think that you're seeing a lot of, I don't know if it's necessarily site driven as much land development is site driven. You know, someone negotiates property or you have a developer who's has a specific site in mind to build something here, or they say, oh, I have a site, what can I bring in to build here? Whereas the specific use you're talking about, I mean, I think they're looking at where can I put this use? So it's a combination of the landowners looking to sell the property. You have an industrial developer who's looking to pull in tenants and clients, and then you have a use who's looking for places that they can go. So I'd say potentially they could be looking at multiple sites. But I mean, that's really, you know, on a large scale too.
But for a project like this, it's unlikely they would develop proposals for multiple sites simultaneously.
Correct, yeah, there's
Thank you
way
for-
too much invested into,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I think as far as,
But they, do they have a plan B? Probably they do, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be pursuing plan B until plan A.
It doesn't work out, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, thank you
this
for
is-
clarifying, I didn't know.
it's with any construction project. I mean, all day long, you know, there's industrial developers looking for different projects in different locations. And if one moves, then they move on that one, put
Right.
more resources in that one. If it doesn't, then they kind of
Okay.
pivot to the next one until they, you know, decide this one is no longer viable.
So it's interesting that our first foray into working through this, you know, the EAC role in land development is a project
Big
like
project.
this.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else noticed. It.
I noticed.
This is $9 billion proposed project. Wow. It'd be-
I work for the federal government, that's not the.
No,
That's right.
And how many square feet is it?
400 acres, 400 acres, 6 buildings, 5 million square feet.
5 million square feet.
Yeah.
That's-
When you say 5 million square feet, but is it multiple floors?
Yeah.
Each one is
It's
its own
2
floor.
stories.
Two
yeah.
stories, yeah.
It sounds like our area is a highly desirable location for these though.
What's that?
It sounds like from one of the videos you sent, it sounds like our area is a very highly desirable location for these.
Yeah, that's why you're seeing so much as far as these some more speculative, some more developed,
Yeah.
interested, land development projects coming into these areas where we haven't seen it before.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden we're seeing a wave of them. Is they talk about access to people to
Yeah.
slow down latency. They talk about access to utilities, access and even land value. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not looking at New York City.
Right.
So
So we have
it's,
access to the city.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think,
But it sounded like from that Lehigh Valley Planning Commission webinar that
Yeah.
the developers, I mean, it seemed like all those things are important, but access to cheap power
Cheap
and
water.
water
Yeah, available water. Yeah.
and the ability to,
And fiber optics, I think they mentioned.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the ability to develop that infrastructure quickly.
Yeah.
Was also, those were seem to be the main factors that they were considering in locations.
yeah, it's a race to market.
And why is water so cheap, inexpensive here?
Well,
I didn't mean, I said cheap, but I meant more available
Yeah.
as opposed to like
No,
Nevada.
but- Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's an abundance of water as opposed to, like, I mean,
Yes.
you see this scale of development out west, but it's not as, there's not as much draw for it as you're seeing now, because out there, you're more worried about, can we get the water there? Can we get the utilities there? Yeah, land is super cheap and you can build it as big as you can build it, but you're also then worried about that road to, even if they want to spend the money to build the infrastructure to get it to the major cities where the people are, they talk about the latency and that lag time of your processing data of, maybe the closest people in a city of, I don't know, a couple million people that's 100 miles away, as opposed to several billion people within, a few hours.
And that's why the significance that we have fiber optics in this area already, because it'll get to those places really fast.
And Pennsylvania is a net energy exporter, so there's, ample energy supply, so.
Where does that project fit on like the continuum of projects for the township? Is that like the top size or?
The size as far as like what has come in, or like where our priorities are as far as review, or, I mean,
Just
okay,
like
it's
in
the
terms of,
biggest
like,
project.
scale of the project.
It's definitely the biggest project we've ever seen, certainly from an industrial development perspective.
Probably in the whole Lehigh Valley, not just South Whitehall Township.
It's definitely, I mean, as far as like data center project, yeah, I think we were saying earlier, it might be one of the biggest in the Commonwealth. I've seen a couple other like large campus style ones, in Cumberland County. There's a pretty big project that's several kind of like steps ahead of this one, that has some legs, so it's not really speculative, but I do believe what is proposed here is bigger square footage wise. Trying to think what else I've seen, but a lot of it is, it's very early. I mean, and you'll see a lot of like speculative projects too, of things that maybe potentially moving forward, but they have other, larger steps in place that they're trying to get to. I know, I think just recently there was a project denied as far as a zoning change request. I forget what county that was in, maybe Lackawanna County. And that was just in the news, I believe, like this week or last week. And as far as township review, this is definitely one of the biggest land developments we've had in a long time. Probably the biggest industrial land development. We've had a couple of big warehouse projects down here, but we don't have a lot of like warehouse district. So it's a big one.
$9 billion, I mean, that's I
crazy.
can't imagine there's been a bigger project in the history of Lehigh Valley.
No,
This would be like building Bethlehem Steel, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
it's big.
Wow.
Yeah.
Billions with a B.
Wow. Good start. Where do we go from here? Number two. How do you top this one, Fred? This is I'm doing it. Next one's what?
Well, and I think what Chris alluded to, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of community concern about this, that
Mhm.
yes, we'll have to be careful how we navigate this.
Yeah, we have been doing our best to not overwhelm the advisory boards with this project, because, I mean, you guys are used to getting through your agenda, and I don't think it's fair for questions that we've been getting from the public to have to come to this board for you guys to have to navigate. You're not able to answer questions about the project from the applicant's perspective. That should be on the applicant. The applicants usually don't come to the advisory board meeting. So we're doing our best to try to get them in front of the planning commission first to try to address more of the overall questions so that you guys can focus on what you need to, landscape and shade tree can focus on what they need to, EAC. And the public is certainly welcome to come to those specific meetings and ask specific questions related to those topics. But I'd hate to see the public go to the Public Safety Commission, for example, and ask about power usage.
Yeah.
That's just not something that they can answer.
I imagine for a project like this, the applicant, if it were approved, the applicant would do some outreach to the community.
We're hoping they do outreach as part of the approval process. That's, yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
the impact of this is significant, so I think they want to get out ahead of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so, and that's where, the update, I think, is, it sounds like we've talked to the applicant from, follow-up from them pulling from the February Planning Commission meeting. I think they're looking to resubmit probably later for maybe second half of the year or second quarter of the year. So it might still be maybe a month or two until you guys get this. So that's great because we have a lot of other things on the agenda.
it's a good segue.
Sorry, I just have one question on that, just from like a PR standpoint, if someone does ask us a question, whether at the meeting or outside of the meeting, understanding we don't want to give a confirmation one way or the other,
Mhm.
what is like the tone, the appropriate tone of response?
If you're getting questions from the public, please feel free to direct them to staff. I mean, I handle calls, walk-ins, and whatever all day long. I'll be on the phone with an hour for someone. We've already sat, in this room with, community members who've expressed concern. The plans are public, all the information is public. So if someone wants to come in and talk about the project, we're happy to do that. So if you're getting questions, please feel free to send them our way. I think, Frank really did a good job kind of highlighting your role as EAC members is advisory to review projects based on how that fits in the township codes and how it fits within the role and goal of this committee, the environmental concerns that are for the township. So your job is not to support or oppose a project, it's to ask questions and comment on components of the project so that information can help inform the ultimate decision makers, which are the Board of Commissioners. But I think, the other thing that we've really been pointing the public to is understanding the land development process. And if you don't subscribe to the e-newsletter, here's a plug for the e-newsletter because I wrote an article for that just recently about kind of the land development process and what constitutes approving or denying a project. And in short, we can't, as we being the township, you cannot approve a project just because you like it, and you cannot deny a project just because you don't like it. There's everything follows the same process, everything follows the same set of rules, and if something follows the rules and if there's not a way that it isn't following the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, the law and the constitutional right to property, that landowner can develop that property. Similarly, you can't cut corners just because, you want to see something happen. It still needs to follow that same level of regulation, go through the process.
Well, I'm wondering if Brian, and it is Brian, right? Yes. Nice to meet you. I think maybe what he's saying is what you and I talked about and how I've been approached by neighbors. And you had a good answer the other day when you said you're still a resident of the town.
Yes.
So a resident has a right to have concerns or feelings about a project.
Yes.
But it can't it can't be, okay, because I'm on the EAC, therefore I have these feelings or these concerns about this project. But as a resident, you can, because I've been approached, obviously, I live closest to the project, and I've been asked to be, they wanted to know, would me or my husband be part of a committee that is opposed to this? And Chris is like, no, and I knew that I wasn't gonna go there, it just was not a good idea, so that then, no, I can't be part of that, and my husband's not gonna be part of it either. So, I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I know you and I had a great.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good point, Marie. I think I kind of forgot. What I said to Marie was, I think, it's important for you all to remember that you are appointed here as residents of the community, as people who are part of this community, who have an interest in the environment and you've gone through the interview process, you've gone through the process to document that you are able to think about things in a way that you're bringing up the concerns of the community and you're helping process it through the township, giving advice to the township decision makers. I think you all play a very important role in, you can think like your friends and neighbors, you can listen to your friends and neighbors, but you can also apply this sort of filter of, okay, if there's concerns, what are the ways that we can document those concerns to have a productive conversation related to a project? That's for this project and any land development project. And that's with any advisory board. So the Public Safety Commission is made up of people who work in public safety every single day. They're thinking about what their roles in their personal lives are, and then how to apply that into questions to bring up at the, from a land development perspective, that apply to the codes and the ordinances and things that need to be met to approve or deny projects. So certainly use this to sort of filter in some of the comments that you want to make or some of the questions you want to ask if you're hearing things from your community members.
I mean, this is a permitted use, and, I think the way we look at it, we don't approve or deny the project as EAC, and our role is to make sure that if the project proceeds, it's done in an environmentally responsible way.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, should we move on to good discussion, everybody? And I'm sure we'll have more on this topic in future meetings. The next item is the work plan for this coming year. So, Chris, you want to?
So for your kind of the new members, what we did when we first started the EAC several years ago, because this was a new board, didn't really have any previous experience to work off of. We developed a specific work plan, and that kind of gave some direction to the members, to me as staff, and to the Board of Commissioners as some of the things that we wanted to do with the EAC, and to kind of give us some more tangible goals. Usually we do this on a small level with the annual reports that we just approved earlier, but the EAC is a lot more dynamic than some of our other advisory boards. You guys are doing a lot more as far as getting involved in things. And so I put into the packet the example of the 2024-2025 work plan, just to give you an idea of format. Now, I don't know, we kind of stuck to some of this. We made some pivots along the way, but it was my hope to prepare a similar type of work plan that identifies a few key goals, has either, it includes an associated initiative that we can talk about where that fits in some of the township's overall policies or recent plans. We've certainly talked about those, I think, at the December meeting. And then it'd be nice to kind of either prioritize or start to put some thought towards timelines on that. Just even broad scale so that we can plan ahead if it's gonna be, event related or, things that you all want to do that we have to make sure it lines up with where, staff work plans are. And then, I don't have these pages numbered, but after page 10 in your packet, what I did was, sorry, these printed out, I wanted to print these landscape. I just threw in some topics to kind of get the ball rolling. I think at our November, December meeting, we talked a little bit about this, and we got some good ideas out of there, including engaging more with Parkland School District and the youth. We talked about the importance of the official map, and then if you look at the previous work plan, just some other mapping components. And then topic 3, transportation. We said that now that the township has its first phase of the transportation plan and is working on some updated additional phases, it'd be great to have the EAC start to think about what components of the transportation plan might, or what you guys can do to support active transportation, less cars on the road, that sort of thing. Topic 4, waste management was a big one. Not just as a general topic of this committee, but also with the progress that we've been making with JP Mascaro.
Still have to schedule a visit.
Yes. And then that's something we can put on here and get going on that. And then really the last one is other ordinances and policies. We've talked about like modifying the high weeds and grass ordinance and that sort of thing. So I just kind of threw it into these buckets just to get you guys thinking about it. So that when I am preparing the final work plan, we can start to have just maybe some like organized topics, and you can work off of that. So I think for tonight, we have a little bit of time to start to discuss some of this. I don't know if anyone has taken notes ahead of tonight's meeting, but I'm here to kind of take notes and filter out your ideas into developing a work plan.
Sorry, I just have a quick question here. I'm a little confused because, all right, we did talk, and it was just putting ideas out for the 2026 work plan in December.
Yes.
Okay, so these are still important to us. These are still going to be part of what we do here.
Well, that's my question to you. So I have the notes from December. And
Okay, that's, okay.
And that's what
all
I took those notes, put them into these buckets, and I have a lot of details from the December meeting, including, reaching out to superintendent,
Right.
looking at the transportation plan. I think I want to go through and confirm, am I on track with these general topics? What are some of the specific goals, some of which we talked about in December, and to put that into kind of these worksheets, and then I will prepare a document more specific like this one.
Okay, all right. So
In case we didn't get everything in December. Now, if that's essentially what you guys really want to focus on, we can talk about just putting some more specific details to that. But I want to kind of give more opportunity for discussion.
So a couple of comments I had, I can start off. Topic number 1, I think it should be a community outreach program. I would not lead with Parkland School District and youth engagement because
We haven't heard back.
haven't heard anything,
Oh,
right?
really?
So
Cricket.
I think if we make that a goal, it's not a goal we can control.
Yeah.
And we can reach out to the Parkland School District as one of the, maybe one of the elements of that, but I think it should be a community outreach.
We won't be able to control the timeline of it though.
Because we've tried before to reach out to Parkland and haven't gotten anywhere with it, so
Can I just add to that? I did get somewhere with school board member Lisa Roth.
Okay.
She's also the board member of the Parkland Library. They have a space in there and she's willing to work with us. The space we can use for free, so we can do community engagement.
At the
Use that
library.
space In the library.
At the library, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so as far as the engagement with the school board, we can use her as sort of like someone to piggyback off of if we wanted to,
Because I also talked to David Hine, who's on the school board at the at the tree lighting ceremony.
Mhm.
And he took our EAC overview and seemed very interested, but nothing
From
came
what
of
I
it, right? So-
understand, and I'm new, but from what I understand from that brief meeting where I sat in briefly with Lisa Ruff, was that the school board is really in charge of hiring the superintendent and not a ton else. I mean, like setting over, but they're not. I
They're not
think
engaged in the
some of the
day-to-day.
trouble, it's great to have school board buy-in, but if we really want to work with the students, we got to get in with the superintendent. Because they're kind of at a very cool higher level, but not going to be the ones like contact this teacher.
Yeah, I mean, they have
kind of.
the high school has an
Right.
environmental club. We've
Mhm.
tried to find who the teacher was, who's,
I mean, I'm sure I can hunt down somebody to get me that information, but I like the idea of going to superintendent because it doesn't limit how we're
Yeah.
interacting. But
absolutely.
if we get to a point where we're like, we're tired of waiting, I can absolutely
Yeah.
find some secretary to tell me the name. I mean, I could do all that. But I think if we can get to the superintendent, I know he occasionally have like tea time with the superintendent and we just missed one. So I could schedule.
And
So-
I'm happy
anyway,
to follow up too. I mean, so like as part of the
Anyway.
Western Lehigh Chamber,
Yeah.
like we interact with the superintendent and then is she the vice superintendent? I don't, I forget what her title is. And then we also meet with the school district on a regular basis for different projects.
Cool.
But so I like kind of the initiative coming from the EAC and I think, we'll see how that goes. So
Yeah.
it sounds like the overall is gonna be like a community outreach.
Yeah, like
Strategy.
we did the tree lighting, we did,
Yeah. So
And
maybe,
Sarah's
the
point
end
is
of
good,
summer.
is that there's space that we can use for
Yeah.
that, so that
Yeah.
should be.
so what's your, like, besides the action of reaching out to the superintendent, what would be your ultimate goal out of, like, what would you like to see happen that reaching out to the superintendent is getting you? Like a more participation from a student in this committee, or maybe a project with students, whether that's a volunteer? Just to kind of give some.
I'll just interject, because I would love to see that. I would love to see engagement with elementary school kids all the way up to high school. I think the elementary school is a great place to start because they are super engaged and have more opportunities and space available. And bringing them here for a field trip or something after hours just sounds wonderful to me.
So,
We can discuss recycling, any number of topics.
Yeah, I think that's what I want to try to get down. Like, what would you do? Like, let's say everything goes forward. Superintendent says, "This is the group you got to meet. They're engaged. They're happy. Here you go."
Time
What
capsule.
the time capsule?
Time capsule.
Yes. Okay.
And then, those would be like our environmental stars. And then we would call them all back here in 5 years, 4 years, and then we dig it up. And then we'd make a thing out of it. And then we, invite the school board members who are influential to the superintendents. And I don't know, make a thing out of it, but it's just a great way to spotlight us and kids and learn something in the process. Also, we could do, something, we had it at the one event, we were down at the park, and that truck came, and we were looking at bugs.
Yes. Yeah. The watershed truck with
Something,
yeah.
not just that,
So
but
maybe
something
an
that
event?
incorporates that.
An
Yes,
event oriented to youth.
yes,
An event around environmental education oriented to youth. Okay.
yes.
so that,
Hands-on, sorry.
okay, finish.
No, I'll keep going.
So I like that. I like an event. I liked a presentation to, maybe the high school conservation club or whatever it is. I don't think we want to commit to doing a project until we've had a conversation
Mhm.
with the school, either the staff or the students, so we find out what the level of interest is. I don't think we want to, I'd rather we brainstorm with them to come up with an idea as opposed to coming at them with an idea. So an event where we invite them is good, I think, or presentation to them is good. But I would stop short of trying to develop a specific project just yet until we've had some engagement.
For sure. And the environmental club, that might be something that we could partner with them for them to come and help run the event.
Yeah.
For us.
So I'm hearing kind of three major objectives. One would be an environmental educational event, whether that's here, down at the park, something that is hosted by the EAC that is oriented to youth. So that's one. And then two, I'm hearing direct engagement with the high school level students, whether it's the club or maybe a class or something like that. And that would be whether that's a presentation on the EAC or what the EAC does or a specific topic of the EAC, whether that's recycling or something like that.
I think that my preference would be a presentation on what the EAC is and, just as an encouragement to get involved.
For the high school kids.
For the high
sure.
school kids.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
As
actually.
opposed
Yeah.
to, let's talk to them about a topic. I'd rather, they don't even know there's an EAC.
Yeah. So,
And
and
so
then,
this is a way for you to participate in your community in a way that can create a more sustainable future and kind of, we can talk a little bit about our backgrounds if there's a couple of us there. But I personally think that would be
I like that a lot.
a more engaging kind of conversation to have than to say, we're going to come talk to you about recycling.
Yeah, I
Because
think the younger kids will get more out of that because they're just learning about that.
Yeah.
I think the high school kids, they should know about that. They're probably sick of hearing about it, but I love that idea.
I will say though, but like the high school kids, you might have more of an opportunity to get direct people who want to volunteer or to do something. And I know the Parkland has like a career day. They've reached out to township staff to be a speaker. I forget when I can follow up and see when that's coming up, but I mean, that would potentially be a great.
Well, and the high school students have a
Yes. it was
volunteer
just
commitment
written
that they have to meet to graduate, so.
Yeah. So if you're going in saying, hey, we're all volunteers in doing this in our community, you live in this community, we're doing this stuff. If that's something of interest to you, we're happy to, follow up more.
Yeah.
That kind of leads into what I'm also hearing is maybe the third item beyond just that direct, like get into a classroom or to a club is continuing to find that outreach, maybe on a higher level with the school district on how to get the people who are interested in the environment, whether it's a teacher, club leader, maybe it's a student who runs a club, more connected with us to figure out something that might be of interest to a project with them. And then
Right.
that starts kind of the process of,
They don't have to filter through the environmental club necessarily. It doesn't have to be, it can be anything that's environment positive,
I've seen kind of like the two outcomes. The one is like engage more with students for volunteerism or just like general involvement. And then the other is engage with the school district with the ultimate goal of doing some sort of collaborative project.
Sure.
Maybe this time.
But I
capsule.
think the conversation should precede the project, right?
Yes.
So we get buy-in from their side also, as opposed
Yeah.
to coming at them and saying, here's a project you want to participate in.
I think part of that, you can almost come at them with an offer of opportunity, like they have volunteer requirements. So like if we can come up with opportunities to do like a park cleanup or, like a stream cleanup or something like that and create the incentive for them to engage with us, that might help as well.
I can tell you the kids, they're high schoolers, they are wonderful when it comes to volunteering, absolutely wonderful. And they are willing to just, we don't have to really incentivize them. If we put this, we do like a sign up and say, this is what we're doing. And we ask the school, her name's Andrew Garrett, that she would post it to this in-house site. The kids will sign up if they see those opportunities because they, as we were saying, they have to have those hours fulfilled. And they're just wonderful. They're a huge help. And maybe that's something else then. Maybe that's a great way just to get volunteers if we want to do a cleanup.
Well, I meant more to incentivize the school to engage with us.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sorry, right.
We're providing this service to your students, this avenue for your students, and that kind of opens the dialogue. There's a mutual interest there in serving the students.
Yeah, because the school isn't, I mean, they get people all the time like, oh, we want to talk to kids and do all this. And it's like, yeah, like this is a good way to say like, hey, here's something that we know your students need and are looking for in their community.
Marie's been dying to say something.
I just kicked down, it's okay, that's all good, I just don't, I just wanted to put it out there, but I wish I had more information. I can't remember the person, I don't even know who in our group contacted the high school for the cleanup on Mechanicsville Road. when we were Green Advisory Council. But my gosh, those were high school kids. And whoever they contacted, I think it was the environmental group, I mean, those kids signed up and they were there early on Saturday morning.
They're
and they worked-
wonderful.
They worked hard, but I don't remember that we contacted the name of the teacher, or maybe
I don't-
Tori had it, I don't know.
Maybe Tori or maybe Mike Kukits did, like I said, there's,
Mike Kukits might
yeah,
have.
we interact
Yeah.
with the school all the time,
Yeah.
from the administration level. So I can certainly follow up if there's, and even just trying to say like, hey, can we schedule a time that you're available to kind of give them the pitch in the EAC and
Yeah.
accomplish this. But I think
But
it's
the
great
sign-up-
just getting down on paper, and then the other thing is getting down on paper, putting it into this work plan, goes to the Board of Commissioners. I don't know who's involved with the school, but it helps, like, oh, this is great. The EAC wants to get involved, and I'm sure once the commissioners see that as well, they'd be more than willing to help however they can.
And the sign up happened quickly, that was the other thing. Yeah,
They
quickly.
sign up in a day. They
Yeah,
fill
it
up the
was-
sign up
it
in a
was
day.
fast.
I have the contact there, just so if we wanted to, when
Yeah.
we're ready to start moving down that road.
So, Chris, the other thing though is, community outreach should be more than just high school. and
Yes.
park
Thank you. I
activities.
like
So
that.
So
I think we need to have some goals in here around contributions to the newsletter. I mean, maybe we just say we're gonna contribute twice in this year to, an article to the newsletter. Right, There's 4 of them, right? So we could commit to doing 2, I think would be, that's unreasonable to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay,
Put 2 for the year.
2 for the year.
Backs, yeah.
yeah, and then,
And one will be coming up soon because we just did. Yeah, or no, I don't know, but I'll get you the schedule.
so like I would say, if we go visit Total Recycle,
Mhm.
we can write up an article on the newsletter about what we found there and what they're doing.
Excluding the rats.
Pardon?
Excluding the rats.
There won't be rats at this place, trust me.
Oh, I understand with the other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we get some traction with Parkland, I mean, that would be a great contribution to the newsletter.
So are we talking there's the e-newsletter? Is that
Yes.
correct? And that's 4 times a year?
Yes,
Okay, and the other one is 2 times a year, the hard copy? Or are we getting rid of the hard copy newsletter?
do you get a hard copy at home?
I don't think there's a hard copy
I don't
anymore.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Wow.
No.
yeah,
Oh,
that's why I don't think we've done it.
I have one. I'll have to look at do we know?
That's what, yeah, I'll follow up, but I
Are you
I'm
thinking-
not.
Is this you?
No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna read-
It might be a hard copy version of the e-newsletter, just slightly, but like from
You know
how
what I'm
it used to
talking
be. Yeah,
The color, yeah,
yeah.
We used to get those. I
I have
it's
to
been
look
a
at my
while since
last
I
one.
If-
think I got one in the mail.
You're getting a hard copy, it could just be a hard copy version of the e-newsletter, not the same with like all the ads that it had,
No,
like
yeah,
that.
that's it.
Yeah, it's a totally different process to develop each one
Okay,
of
so
those.
we have to look at the e-newsletter. I love that.
I believe the e-newsletter is the way we're going.
Okay.
Another potential topic would be, where we see the forward plan being with the earned income tax increase.
As far as outreach, or, I'm sorry.
As far as
what did you
now,
say?
an article around,
Oh, an article.
what the
Yes,
township
yes,
is
yes,
planning to do with these additional funds. I mean, I think that would be a nice contribution.
Like an update, like this is what we're doing with your money,
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just coming from the
Passed this.
township, not from us, though, just coming.
You passed this, so, because I mean, that's been one of the arguments against the data center is that, you asked us to pass an open
Right.
space referendum,
Yeah,
and now you're building this massive data center on open space, what gives, right? So I think, and those are 2 separate things, but I'm just saying. that-
no,
I think.
I did
We're
I
gonna
did
have
one this
questions.
past newsletter that's coming out. We had a pretty quick turnaround, and that was my concern too, of like, we've been getting questions about that, so I put in it very quick. I think it would be great as we develop, one of the things I mentioned is we're developing more of like a standard operating procedure for how the township and EAC and commissioners will be reviewing that. So like, once we get a little bit more of that to you guys, that'd be a great one for like 3rd quarter of the year.
And I think part of that is, the reality that we have to build up funds before we can actually go purchase property, right?
Yeah.
That, you can't just, pass the variance and then go buy
Yeah.
a, 10-acre farm the next day, right? So,
It was a lot of work to even get the ordinance passed in order to enact the tax in
Yeah.
January. Like that doesn't happen. Usually it's like the idea comes and then the tax comes way later. But we knew we need to start building funds.
But just going back really quickly to the outreach, I'm sorry, but I feel just as it's important to the youth. I'd love to see us doing something for seniors.
Okay.
Specifically. And I think, tons of things in my mind, but again, going back to using that space potentially at the library, because seniors love going there, is, telling them and informing them of how they can recycle, bring your batteries,
Yeah.
your batteries or something. I think just doing something for seniors and helping them understand water usage, if they have leaky faucets at home, maybe we can have these are a list of like, preferred people that they can call, or we can help them set it up to remedy these problems. Don't leave your lights on, do you have light bulbs? I don't know. Just helping these seniors out, I think it would be great.
If I may make a suggestion, I would very much love to see a collaborative between EAC and Park and Rec Board on this and with Lynn Matula, because that's certainly like a demographic that she's been trying to do more programs related to. So if you guys can kind of provide what that program is around, and if it's around, environmental related issues, and if she can kind of get it organized and yeah, I'd love to see that as, something as a starting point. Like
There are several over 55 plus assisted living retirement communities in the area. Like there's a couple things. One is we could try to get something at one of those locations that would inform people, but also separately, do we know how they're handling recycling? Like would there be any value of communicating with their administration at some of these places? They're recycling in an intelligent and in the way, following all those.
Yeah,
that would be a
so
large
it's commercial. It'd be considered
Right.
commercial, so they're not
Yeah.
under the township program, but I
Ah,
think it
okay.
is yeah, I mean, you could look at it from that perspective, but then it's also like, do you just want to look at commercial outreach? And I think,
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
the GAP
That's
had maybe done a little bit of that previously. Like, did you do a commercial recycling survey?
We did a survey around plastic bags,
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
but we specifically reached out to commercial entities
Yeah.
within the township.
Maybe that's like,
I think that's a slightly different.
get there in
Objective,
a year or
it's a
two.
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
I
I
love
think
that.
we'll table that, but that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, okay.
And that's part of like doing this is like, well, where does this stuff,
Yeah.
you guys have a lot of great ideas. Where does it fit in your priority? And what do you want to do now? And how do you want to do? As far as the senior thing, I would suggest that as maybe like a first action is like, we set up time to collaborate with, Lynn Matula, what she is going, because I know that's already something that she's working on. So if there's a way to kind of blend that in, and if not, if you guys can develop what that program would be, and then the scheduling for next year, and then do something with the library. And we've done that before. And we've had senior programs in here, and we've worked with the library and senior programs. So I think it's great.
And don't forget us seniors who don't live in over 55 communities.
No, I know.
She says seniors, I thought she's talking seniors in high school. I thought she was talking about, what kind of senior are we talking about here?
It was cold-blooded, Marie. It was cold-blooded. She was looking right at you and she said seniors. You didn't catch it. We freaking I did. Freaking I saw that right through that.
I'm just letting you know. It's not all about age.
We did have a really nice collaboration with Lehigh County. I forget what I don't know if it's still Department of Aging, but with Cedarbrook being in the township during the transportation plan.
Yeah, right.
Seniors was a big, demographic and focus
Yeah.
on the transportation plan. So they were, if anything, what I learned from that was their willingness to have more involvement with the township. So yeah, if it's not transportation related, not recreation related, but environmental related, that's great.
I think PPL has those little like kits, like the little like money saving kits, which I mean, everyone loves saving money. I think maybe we can involve them as well. Like they're like prepackaged. It seems like they already have the like literature and stuff for that too.
They even have a program where they come and they'll do an assembly for free. They get booked up immediately, obviously, because it's for free, but if, we could certainly kind of collaborate and do something like that, maybe for the township, for the kids. gonna be doing it in Kernsville next year, that's the only reason I know about it. But, I'm sure they could set up anywhere to do something like that, going back to the kids.
In the interest of time, can I just make a quick suggestion on what I would,
Yeah, that's.
You know, those people like-
I love the detail, I love getting into the minutia, but I think my goal is to kind of talk high level to put this together so that throughout the year, you can schedule a whole meeting where the whole meeting is just talking about
Or a
senior
subcommittee.
engagement.
A
Or a
subcommittee.
subcommittee, yes, that was mentioned as well.
Yeah.
So just to kind of keep some of this moving, so I'm hearing community outreach as like a main topic.
Yeah.
And within that, there's, Parkland School District, we talked about a couple things there, or Parkland School District youth related. We talked about something with seniors with community outreach, and then what I'll call like the indirect communication, which is like newsletter.
Yes, so we have an events goal, set of goals, and a written communication set of goals.
I'd like to add one more, is
Yes.
to add something to that that's, practical. How can me as a resident do this, on my own? Like, it's not a one-time event. And the example I'll give is the Christmas recycling
Yes.
specific information that we gave last year. And if there's a specific event or there's something coming up, or even just kind of here, like we were talking about before the meeting about spring bulbs coming, just like practical education of, do this around your.
We're applying that
Roads,
mindset
roads,
to your event planning of like, yeah, you want to do something for the direct, but you also want like a takeaway. So
I like that term, though, practical education. I think I like, that's a good.
It worked. I got feedback on those flyers when I handed them out in my neighborhood, so, yeah.
All right, so community education, obviously a big topic, lots of great stuff under there. I will try to work in some of this into something that is formulated to a couple of tasks and goals, and then that's where, just having that high level, having that work plan, it lets the commissioners know what you guys are working on so that when you spend the time to get into the details, they can see like, oh, they want to do something with seniors. This is great. I know they're going to do that. Maybe I'll attend that meeting, or maybe I'll ask a follow up on that, or maybe I have a connection to someone that, is there anything else related to community outreach that needs to go into, again, the somewhat high level work plan?
No, we're gonna move on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Topic 2, mapping. I think, at least in terms of the title, we should have open space preservation as part of that goal. I mean, EAC duty number 5 is obviously speaking to open space preservation, but I think it's in terms of a high level banner, it should be mapping, with the intent of.
What about open space preservation, and mapping is like part of that?
Okay, yeah.
Do I understand correctly from the December meeting that the keeping the index of all open space areas largely falls on the township?
Yeah, yes.
Or is this where you need like a subcommittee?
No, it'll be on the township. We haven't really done it. We talked about putting more of our attention on updating the official map.
Yeah.
And then I think if we didn't need to update the official map, it would be great to have us go through an exercise of, I would prepare a map of the open spaces and kind of work with you guys to confirm what those open spaces are based on our open space classifications. And we had talked about before with the landscapes plan, if there's areas of opportunity to say like, oh, we can turn this from just a vacant grass field into a naturalized open space area.
Sure.
Or if this is an opportunity to do something more for like a passive park or something like that.
Okay.
So,
But should we keep that as a goal? I mean, in terms of, as part of finishing the official map, EAC will identify and prioritize open space. I mean,
yeah, if you guys want to spend time
How
on
much
that,
of it?
if you guys want to spend time on that, I can prioritize my time to preparing that initially to have that. I think it's been more of like no one's asking for it right now, and I don't know what we do with it right away. And we have a lot of other things, so it's.
I mean, we spent the last year basically talking about open space, so
Yeah.
let's, you know,
And we're
I'd like
about to
to see
get
us-
funding, right? I mean, we're gonna
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
getting funding, so that in the context of that, we should know what we have.
yeah, so I
Right.
think there's a, you know, there's an opportunity to complete that conversation
Mhm.
by, you know, coming up with a priority list of open space, as, you know, in conjunction with finalizing the official map. So I think we should finish the job, I think.
I like it. So finalize official map. We'll have kind of that, my mind is top priority, and then the developing that open space classification map.
Maybe the top 50.
Have any property owners like started to reach out to the township?
No, this is, we have an interesting township, and
That's a
you
good
know,
one.
we talked to Bushkill Township about like their approach to open space programs, a lot of others. We don't have a lot of landowners. We kind of know the open spaces that we have, and part of what I think we want to do with the official map is to officially recognize that so that we can start our outreach. I don't think it's necessarily going to be, oh, we hope that a farmer calls us or something like that, because there just really isn't a lot of, there's not a lot of entities or individuals that own open space that might want to do this, but we do have opportunities to be more direct. And now if we can have funding, the township can be a little bit more aggressive, is the wrong word, direct in our approach to protecting something. Whereas like the Davis Smith property is a good example that kind of came to the township. So instead we can say like, hey, we reach out to a landowner, would you be interested in protecting this?
What is it, Davis Smith?
Davis Smith is some open space, about 25 acres. It's along Springhouse Road, and it butts up against Route 22. So that was a property that the township protected with the property owners there. It was a donated property.
And that's just kind of sitting idle.
It's
But
actually
it's
farm.
active ag,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Active.
we lease it to the farmer.
Okay.
And I think this year is the first year, like, it used to be a paid, it was always a paid lease when they had it. We kept the same farmer on, and now I think we lease it for $1.
And they're doing construction there.
Oh, yeah, actually, so with the snow, Herb couldn't come tonight, but Herb does want to talk about the project there. So we're doing a project with the Lehigh County Conservation District there. And he wants to give a little presentation to you guys on what they're doing there. And once the weather's nicer, we can go out and take a look at that. I think it'd be a great little field
It's
trip.
things I love and in my backyard, so
Yeah,
doubly interested.
yeah, it's awesome. It's a great program. I'd love to have someone from the district, maybe even, I don't know if it's maybe Kevin or maybe, I don't know, I'm blanking on the watershed specialist name, but have someone from there talk about that program as well, because that's something we can also apply to other township-owned properties. So open space preservation, kind of 2 goals for mapping there. Anything else related to open space preservation that we didn't really cover in like the community engagement? And
Should we be, so this didn't come up when I was reading it as mapping, but if we're talking about open space preservation, should we be working with Parks and Rec also? Or is that, because I definitely saw that was necessary, I think, under
Yeah.
transportation, but in
yes,
terms of envisioning,
sorry,
in terms of envisioning, like, or is
yes.
this more documenting?
I think the exercise, the mapping exercise will definitely want to, I mean, I'm gonna take it to both the EAC and Parks
Sure.
and Rec, and maybe we consider something like a joint meeting on that, I don't know. But as far as doing something, I think we have to kind of go through what do we have, what do we want to do with it
Sure.
before there's more of the tangible, because then it also involves township staff and public works staff.
Yeah.
So.
But to Emily's point, I think, I mean, you know, depending on the type of open space, there could be a conversation with Parks and Rec about what's the best use of, you know, if we're going to preserve that open space, is it best as a passive park, as, you know.
How do we want to be engaging
Oh,
community
new
members
properties,
with
like-
the open spaces? that we're, if.
I
some
don't
of
know if
this
you
is-
meant existing
No,
properties.
no,
or
because
new
I
properties.
know the mapping is sort of the rigor of existing things, but insofar as it's related to sort of the idea that we're getting money at some point and we want to get ahead of that, yes, what Frank is saying, how do we want to think about what the open spaces might be, what people need, how we want people to be engaging with the environment,
Yes.
which ties into transportation, but gets ahead of, transportation is specifically about transportation. This gets ahead of that conversation and says, Johnson Park or
What if,
I think that's great.
soccer field.
Yeah.
And I'm
Sorry.
wondering if we can, I'm wondering if we can tie that into all the work that was already done for Kohler Ridge. I mean, Kohler Ridge is just sitting there, but there was a lot of work.
yeah, that's what I'm wondering, like, is so Kohler Ridge is a property that we own, and then there's what do we do with property that we own? Is that some of the goals for now, or what you're talking about is more as we are considering open space preservation and protecting more properties or even acquiring more properties, we should be considering all the environmental benefits.
Or things you own. I don't know that they have to be. Well, no, I was thinking more. Well, you go ahead. I was thinking more like the things you own or
why
don't
can't
own.
it be both?
It
Yeah.
can be. I think I'm just trying to think of I'm trying to think of schedule wise what you guys need to prepare. So if it's a matter of looking at I guess I was kind of envisioning part of the goals for the official map could have a recreation component. And that would identify areas of need for recreation. And we have some of that based on the park and rec plan from a few years ago. We have sort of isolated areas in the township that we know we have gaps in offering recreation. And that, I think, is where we can kind of collaborate with park and rec on where are new opportunities where we can protect open space that supports recreation. But then there's the other piece of we have a lot of properties already, and what do they need to do?
Yeah.
Kohler Ridge is one. We have a lot of pocket parks, and
Yeah.
we have started to go through with Park and Rec, and they've mentioned that as well, almost doing the Park and Rec plan for the township from a few years ago recommended we have different classifications of recreation facilities, our community parks, our neighborhood parks, updating those master plans. So we did the Vistas a few years ago, and we implemented that, and then we just got a grant to do the Covered Bridge Park master site plan to update that. So that's a big priority. And then we also talked about Fernwood is our other big what we consider neighborhood park, and then we have all kinds of others in between. So I think maybe that's where, as we develop a plan to review those with the Park and Rec Board, we should also be reviewing those with the EAC on how best to use these properties.
And that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying, Chris, is a lot of work was done through Omnis,
Yes,
the design group
yes,
for Kohler Ridge. Do we still have that?
yes.
Okay, because
That,
it's part
it's
of a
a
grant.
full master plan.
Yeah,
It's just
It
no
was a-
money to put towards it.
Right.
Now,
but we can learn from that is what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if we can, when that time comes, to Emily's point, there's a lot of good information in there, a lot of good slide presentation that was done, PowerPoint. I mean, they came up with some really amazing stuff. Does it help with any of these other parcels, perhaps? I mean, it was,
as far as the approach and
well, there were just some really great ideas there
Yeah.
that we have not had in this township. We don't have it.
yeah,
And a lot of it was resident generated because they were interviewing residents
yeah.
who came to those meetings. So that's all. I'm just wondering.
May
It
I
was a great
make
stuff.
a suggestion on a tangible, less work for everybody to do that fits in? So like I said, the Covered Bridge Park Master Plan, we just got a grant award for that, so we'll be starting that process. We'll be doing the same thing that we did for Kohler Ridge, hiring a consultant, going through that whole process specific to Covered Bridge Park. So if you want to apply some concepts, I would suggest, just participation in the Covered Bridge Park Master Plan for that, unless you're looking for, it's a matter of time and resources on like how much are we planning for each site. I think we've been kind of going of this. Look at these big plans or these big sites that we currently own, Vistas, Fernwood, Covered Bridge. Go through the process, updating those master plans or preparing new ones, and then potentially sprinkle in some smaller ones that we don't need necessarily a consultant, or if there's something very specific to that, we can go through and maybe it's identifying, saying we're gonna do 2 smaller projects a year, 2 smaller sites a year in collaboration with EAC and Park and Rec, that we're going through that process.
All I'm saying is that to save some time and effort and work to review what Omnis gave to us.
Just from
Like the
a-
EAC review it?
Or however that should be.
Yeah.
Once you start
Yeah.
acquiring, or once you're looking at the pieces
Oh,
that
sure.
you have, that's
Sure.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Because they were so creative, so clever with what they suggested. A lot of it's specific to Kohler Ridge, but can it be applied someplace else? Rather than, like, I understand your process, but do we need to reinvent that wheel without looking at what we already have? What have people given to us already?
yeah, usually like when you're doing a master site plan like that, there's like a document review. So you review everything. You review all the township plans, anything related, if there's a parking rec plan related to that. So we can have that as part of, I guess, I want to apply some focus to like what sites are we looking at and for
So-
what
so-
purpose.
How about we tie all this together? How about if we meet with the consultant for Covered Bridge Park, once that firm is hired? In the meantime, we take the action item to review what was done at
Yes.
Kohler Ridge, and then we come to that meeting with ideas informed by what's been done already.
Love it.
So the summary is that we're gonna make it a specific goal towards Covered Bridge Park and not a general review or suggestion of.
That's kind of my
blueprint
question.
Uses,
Yeah,
like
like,
coming up
I
in
think,
lieu of a specific.
yeah,
site.
I think what I take away from this is that there's a lot of open space, like there's a large inventory of open spaces, some of which are being managed, definitely managed by Parks and Rec, some of which are owned and being less managed. And I think I think I need to know I need to know what they all are, what they look like, or some just big fields.
and that goes back to the
But-
mapping.
So let's do the
classification.
mapping and then like, let's put some thought behind that and say, maybe how do we want to develop what we have? Or
Yeah.
what needs do we have? But we can't do any of that until we know we've
Right.
seen the map.
But
To
I
Brian's
think-
point, though, there might be
Yeah.
some smaller projects.
Yes.
that you want to take.
Yes.
Well, and
Yeah.
part of it, we are working on the Covered Bridge Park Master Site Plan. So if that is a goal related to Covered Bridge of everyone doing their homework from the Kohler Ridge plan and coming with those ideas,
I'm
I
just
think
saying,
that's great.
To me,
Yeah.
that's an opportunity that's sitting right in
Yes.
front of us, since we're
Yeah.
already doing it.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm trying
But
to.
I'm
I
not
think we
saying
do- I think
to
we
the
do
exclusion of
both on
everything
this.
else.
Yeah,
right?
right.
I think what I'm trying to say, I think aligns with this is to have an understanding of the existing land uses and maybe have just sort of general blueprints or ideas, case study's not the right word, but
Mhm.
example uses for
Mhm.
this type of
Yeah.
land. It doesn't need to be specific to,
Okay.
any one property.
Mhm.
But if we have this type of parcel, this type of space, these are the types of things we can consider.
Well, I think that's Marie's point, that a lot of that work is done for Kohler Ridge, so if we just, inform ourselves on what that is, that'll at least give us some ideas to kind of see the discussion.
Yeah, like an example is, the Kohler Ridge plan, community weighed in, probably said something like, I'd love a place to interact with nature and do art. So then Omnis and the team behind that put that into, here's a potential design consideration for this location in Kohler Ridge for, art interpretation, visioning benches, a sitting garden, that sort of thing. And I think to your point, like that's already in there. There's some great thoughts behind it. That can spark some interest. If we are applying that concept to Kohler Ridge, or if we're not because we're, financially constrained right now, we could consider something like that. If the
That's-
community wants a space for this, as we're going through, we have other spaces that we can potentially incorporate.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, then we can come up with to be able to give an opinion moving forward, some things that are more meaningful.
Mhm.
Can you send out the Kohler Ridge thing?
Yes.
Okay. Or at some point. not urgently.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that prior to the meeting. Like, is anyone interested, especially the new folks, in like paper copies of anything? I mean, we have plans upon plans, transportation plan, Coleridge plan. Like if anyone wants that, just let me know. Everything else is I can just send links on the website.
Links is fine
Okay.
for me.
Links is easier. Control.
Yes.
What, Chris, transportation is topic number 3. What specifically did you have in mind here?
I think Emily was one who brought up a lot of like potential connection points with, we now have such like a focus on implementing the transportation plan. So that was active transportation plus the safety components, plus reclassifying township roadways based on the surrounding context. So looking at like, we might, in some cases, street trees are applicable, but in some other areas it might not be, standard street trees might be more just vegetated landscaping or something like that, different forms of active transportation. And that all of that may have some sort of environmental component of trying to encourage more people to, walk or bike, less driving. And if there's anything tangible out of that, even if that's just, hey, everyone here, review the transportation plan and consider what would you say is, maybe the EAC develops like, what's the highest priority project to consider from an environmental benefit? And then that gets roped into our project planning with transportation projects to say like, okay, it checks the box of it fulfills a gap in our active transportation network. It identifies a safety need, it implements some of the new reclassification, and there's this environmental benefit.
Okay, so it would be reviewing the transportation plan, look for opportunities to.
Yeah, if you guys want that identified in your work plan. I know it was talked about a lot at the previous
I think it
meeting.
makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
It was not, that was a separate thing.
Yeah.
What, it came up because when I was interviewing to come on here, I dug up like the planning committees, they did a big work plan.
Mhm.
They did, where they interviewed a whole bunch of people of the community. And I think like the number one concern in one of the surveys that they were doing at least was pedestrian accessibility and how so many things were not pedestrian accessible. And so that just made me think, because I'm interviewing, right? So how can I apply that to what I'm looking at? And it made me realize that, so many, covered bridge is not very pedestrian accessible. It's, you drive to it. And so what other
I
things?
walk to it.
And
but
or walk
it's
to it, or
on
bike
public-
to
public
it.
ground.
Right, but yes, on public roads that don't have sidewalks. So, yeah, it just made me think, well, it would be beautiful if we move towards a community where you could get around more walking, biking in a safe way to parks, to anything. I mean, and so where is our role in that?
That
I mean,
sounds
to the
great.
extent that it encourages environmental access and sponsorship,
Reducing
stewardship and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we're
Yeah.
there,
Yeah. that makes perfect sense.
So,
I just wanted to make sure I understood what our specific.
Yeah.
angle was.
So yeah, I think it's something great for you guys to support, and certainly when there's stuff to bring forward. But I guess my question is, do you have specific goals for this year, or we're kind of looking at this as a 2-year that you want me to document related to that topic?
yeah.
And is that just review the plan and identify?
I think we need to know how we fit in with what's already going on.
Okay.
And you've told us that we can fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think, maybe a goal is to increase pedestrian and biking accessibility to township resources or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that, just as a very high
It's a
level goal.
level, we want to get there. What
Pretty
do
much,
we
we're
want to
implementing one of the ideas
Yeah.
we have in the plan. Like,
Yeah.
this way it'll give us time to follow, like, once the plan's out, you can
Yeah.
kind of push the one idea.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're just gonna make recommendations, right? I mean,
Yeah.
advisory committee, but I mean, I think, if we.
Well, the
If our goal is to review
the
the
plan is
plan,
out.
make-
We're kind of
Okay.
we're in the process now of identifying projects. So we have grant applications in for certain projects. We have, we're budgeting for certain projects. We're probably developing new budgets in future years to do more in-house. And so it's a matter of, is there what's the best way to kind of get feedback from the EAC on that? Because we, like I said, we kind of have our process of, or at least we have we know the needs. We've gone through the planning, so we know the needs and we know the areas that it benefits. As we're going through the project selection, most likely it's going to be like checking off as many boxes as we can. And one of those boxes is also opportunity. So is it a matter of, bringing projects to the EAC just to kind of, inform you, get some support? Or is it, do you guys want to go through some of that planning and start to identify, oh, I see, this corridor is identified on the active transportation plan, or there's like 3 catalytic projects in there. We really see this something as we'd like to highlight the environmental benefits of this, and then maybe that elevates it more on the township's like kind of capital planning list.
I was thinking this is a way either we can help with the project or perhaps throw our 2 cents in on making it a little bit more environmentally friendly even.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Might be not, but just try to like actual
Yeah.
implementation of something so that we can actually say, hey, we worked on that. you know?
Yeah. No, I like that, because and that also gives me more, like, I can start to bring projects more to you guys. So like, for example, I mean, like the Jordan Creek Greenway, I gave updates to the Park and Rec Board, but it sounds like that might be something that you guys want to weigh in as we get to this next stage with the
Yeah.
Jordan Creek Greenway,
Yes.
the development of the latest section.
Yes,
Okay.
that makes sense that we should be part of that, I think.
And I'm concerned about the amount of work for the amount of time we have, but you say this is 2 years. What you're looking at is a 2-year plan.
2-year plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, as we often say, we're only volunteers, and how much time, and what is our priority here in all of these topics that we're looking at? What will our priority be? And I think we've talked about that before. Where do we put our energy? And it seems like the map is going to be, and the open space is going to be a big one, and it's going to take us time.
And
So I'm
the-
not saying that this idea with transportation is wrong, but I think, how do we, and I guess that's you, Chris, how do we prioritize that? What gets the emphasis, here, or based on what or are we deciding that, or who's deciding that? I don't know.
Well, my kind of takeaway from the transportation piece is more on me bringing things to you all as they're moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's good to put into here. So it's less, I'd say, like individual work for you all, and it's not anything new for staff. It's more just bringing the information to the EAC so you can have discussions on it.
Yeah, right, and I understand.
If I'm hearing that
I think that's
correctly,
perfect.
I think that's
Yeah.
like,
I think that's
it's
perfect.
an easy added in.
I think we'll miss opportunity by doing it that way, but I think, given the limitations of time.
Exactly.
Elaborate,
We
how
have
do you,
limitations. Yeah.
Well,
Because we're just responding
Yeah,
instead of,
as opposed to saying, hey, there should be a bike path here.
but when you bring it to us, forgive me, but when you bring it to us, and at that point, couldn't we say, well, how else would we know to comment on that specific thing? When you bring it to us?
you can start with reviewing the plan.
We could
Like,
look at
there's
the whole
100 plays.
transportation plan and look
Yeah.
for opportunities, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot more work, though, right?
I know, and maybe
Yeah.
that's my reservation with it.
Okay,
I think I'm taking Marie, I'm going over this, I'm thinking, I don't know how we're gonna get to it,
Right.
but I could be, what do
Okay,
I do?
let's
okay,
start with.
so this is, if we were gonna have a subcommittee on this, they would look at the transportation plan, however many, 2 of them or something, better page, and they would come up with the recommendations for you guys, right? Like
Yeah.
that's where the
Mhm.
subcommittee would make logical sense, because not everyone can look at 100 pages,
Right.
but 1 or 2 could, or 3, whatever a subcommittee would be. And they could bring it to here, and then that could get ahead of it if we wanted to do that. I think that's where we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're doing something very similar with the Public Safety Commission. So Public
Yeah.
Safety, similar to you guys, they have their full agenda. But Public Safety also has a very important role in the safety transportation projects that we're going through. So we've established this Vision Zero task force, and that is kind of more of an ad hoc getting together, developing both programs and looking at projects from a safety perspective that will then be brought to Public Safety Commission to say, okay, here's the projects for next year. Here's a program we're looking to implement with the police department. At Public Safety, they discuss it and they kind of vote and they say, yeah, we like this, let's recommend it for funding or moving forward to a grant to the Board of Commissioners. So I like the idea of a subcommittee on that. And I think the other piece is we're still early in the implementation. I don't want you guys to waste too much time on getting all of your, projects together. Where it's like, oh, this is our top priority, this is our top priority, this is our top priority. And then it gets kind of into the system and it's like, that's great, but we're never gonna touch that one for another
Right.
3 years because of our road maintenance schedule for this one, and we have an opportunity for that one. But, so do you wanna develop a transportation subcommittee to go through that and like kind of meet more on, like, for them to review the transportation plan and maybe pull some of that out just to be more informed when there's projects, or if you want to bring some things up, if you review it and it's not saying, oh, here's our top list of projects, but if it's like, hey, we noticed this in the transportation plan, I think it'd be great if we could talk more about this at a meeting.
I'm happy to read the 100 pages personally,
How big is the report?
if it's 100 pages.
Oh,
If it's
yeah, it's-
300 pages, I don't do that.
No, it's
I
not.
know what.
Yeah, I think
Can you have it together by next week?
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to decide this.
No.
as part of our
Yeah.
work plan.
No.
That's
Yeah.
The one thing I did think of, we should put recruitment as part of our work plan.
Well, maybe what we do at our next meeting is to, maybe I'm jumping ahead too quickly here, and I understand, but
172 pages.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe what we do is,
Can you send me
There's pictures.
that? I didn't follow where, how you got to it. Can you send me that link?
Yeah, and part of it too is I'm developing like a story map on this that has all right there. Like, so you don't have to read the whole thing. So you can kind of just go through and you can get to the, like, here's the active transportation network. So, and this was like a 2-year planning process to identify all this. So, and if it's like,
So
oh,
why
yeah,
don't we table this discussion? The action item will be for Emily and me to read the transportation plan, and then next month, can you read it by next month?
Yes.
Okay, so then by next month, let's revisit this and see what makes sense for us.
We need to
do.
develop a frame, even if it's just a person or two who's doing the work, there needs to be a framework for them to figure out what they are prioritizing when they bring it to the committee. So I think that would be the.
But let's at least read the plan
sure.
and see if
Right,
there's
yeah.
opportunity there. and
Yeah.
We can decide whether we need a subcommittee or.
Sure.
Is the audio book out
Thank
for
you
that yet?
Bring us the quick notes.
I will read it and then just pass the recording.
That would be good.
I just want clip
Too much
notes.
time every day.
But I do everything with a French accent, a very bad one.
but that's what I was gonna say too, Frank, that you're suggesting, just subcommittees is, I mean, we know we're at our time, but subcommittees we've talked about, we don't have time tonight to say, okay, we're gonna this, something.
No.
It has to be subsequent, but I think it's a good idea. We have it with the Green Advisory Council.
Yeah, so let's just, we'll read it and we'll see whether there's any opportunity there, I think, for the EAC
Okay.
to do something proactively as opposed to just reviewing
Okay,
the projects as they come along.
that sounds great.
Right.
In the interest of time, to kind of just like button up the rest of it, the other topics are waste management, and then again, there's ordinances and policies. I feel like, do you all want to just identify the waste management specific goals? I think we talked about them as far as, the most tangible being the meeting, but if you guys want to kind of come up with, the site visit, if you guys want to come up with some specific ones related to that, but is waste management a good topic?
I think overarching there is to develop an ongoing dialogue with Mascaro, right?
Yep.
Just so we can try to optimize waste management practices.
Okay.
I think as a goal, that's probably as specific as we need to get. And, one of those would certainly be visit total recycle.
Right, and I think after we did the Revolution Recovery tour, we said, wouldn't it be good for the however we were gonna, not quite sure, Chris, but it was builders, contractors, or whatever, to just make them aware that Revolution Recovery exists, because there's a lot that do not know that exists. And there'll be
And perhaps incentivize them.
yeah, but we had talked something about that, yeah.
Now if we can add on like the increase, like awareness, like we were doing with the Christmas wrapping thing, like with waste. I mean, I think you were there with that too, like let people know about this, let people know about that. So maybe
Well, there's an opportunity, I mean, Total Recycle has given us the opportunity to schedule tours, right? I mean, we could, as EAC, we could sponsor tours if we think there's, once we go there and see it, if we think there's value for more of the public to see it, we could sponsor tours.
I love
So
that idea
fun.
so much. Yeah, I love that idea so much. Are we going 2 places? Are we going back to Mascaro's, a different location? No, just Total
Total
Recycle.
Recycle, yeah.
They send everything. They send the recycling there.
Right, they sent it.
Total Recycle is Mascaro's recycling facility. Well, it's not
Thank
theirs,
you.
but
Okay,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Mascaro collects it. They process the landfill stuff, but then they send the recycling to Total Recycle, who they contract with.
Thank you.
Because I think the other, slightly longer term is the EAC should provide input to the Board of Commissioners in renewing contract for waste disposal. I mean, we should have a role in that contract renewal, an advisory role.
Yeah, the other thing I'll
Probably will be
mention is the,
End of 27, there should be,
yeah, and
so
we
that could be
conducted
part of our
the-
official.
Because I think now it's just, you're the one better than me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did, I can't remember if I shared anything from the analysis that we did with the SCS engineers with this group. So I'll add that as a potential item, is reviewing some of the, it was more on route analysis. I'll see what I can share. But I talked to the township manager about it recently, because there's some more specific things in there as far as they were looking at evaluating cost. Now, that's essentially for a new contract, but it was looking at like the services provided and the routing provided, and then I think there was some potential educational related items, which you've all talked about, just trying to get people to recycle more instead of throwing out trash or reuse. And then we also talked about the yard waste facility a little bit, so I'll follow up on that if there's anything to follow up there, part of that evaluation.
But it
So-
would be great if, longer term, the EAC had a role in the
Mhm.
renewal of those contracts.
Yeah.
An advisory role in the renewal of those
Great.
contracts.
Yeah, and that could be starting now with like, hey, we've done this sort of analysis,
Yeah.
taking that, plus learning as much as you can as far as the, like, what we do with our processing, and then like preparing like for future contracts, this should be considered, this should be
Yeah,
considered, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And, this ties back into what we were talking about earlier, but as far as outreach goes, the school district,
Mhm.
they don't recycle currently, and so getting them to kind of come on board with that, might be something.
Mhm.
That's so much.
Yeah, I think you guys could probably, like, high level, just develop an outreach or a recycling communication strategy. Like that could be something, target audiences, whether it's like at events.
Actually, fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, not ironical.
The last one, ordinances and policies. We talked about a lot of stuff. I want to know from you guys, like, what's big on your mind related to this? How much time do you want to spend on this? We've talked about a couple of things, but if those aren't priority right now with the big list of everything else that we've gone through, that's totally fine.
I have one, I
yeah.
just have one, and it's the lights.
The lighting, okay.
And I don't know how much the EAC can add or do for that, but I just want to say it.
We will prioritize it in our, like, we're, as staff, we're going through whatever ordinance changes we're making, and then everything has its own, like,
Sure.
it's like, this needs to be fixed, well, where is that a priority? So it'll help inform where it gets as a priority, and then when we get to that part, we'll engage the EAC as an interest, like, that's something you're definitely interested in, which we probably wouldn't have. Like, I mean, I'm gonna bring the open space stuff to you guys, but I'll make sure to bring the lighting piece as well.
And with lighting too, Chris, we talked about dark sky.
Yeah.
And the benefits of dark
Yeah.
sky. It's not just, that they're huge lights and they're,
Yeah.
and it's annoying to people.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
the whole dark sky.
No, I think a great, like,
Yeah.
success is, you guys weighing in, and specifically you, Sarah, on the PERT. Like, we added a dark sky component to the PERT ordinance, and we're even like revisiting that now, and it's just easier to incorporate that into a new ordinance that was being
Yes,
developed.
exactly.
And so, like, our lighting ordinance itself, it has to be rewritten, and like there's just it's like pulling a yarn of, you know, the thread, where it's like, you gotta make sure everything goes through.
So
So,
the data center proposal, I mean, you know, light pollution was one of the things they addressed, right?
Mhm.
You know,
yeah, and that's because it was
Right,
in
yeah,
there per
yeah.
your recommendation.
I was happy to see that.
I think it would be good to look at outside of the PERT, what are opportunities to introduce maybe a lower level or basic requirement to other zoning, other development. Maybe not as stringent or not as specific, but at least the minimum, you know, you need to like provide the water plant for your landscaping or something like that. You know, making sure these sort of, they're not the core of the proposal, but they're still gonna be a demand on the system and impact how it fits in with the rest of the location.
So is that, we had talked about, you guys did, but it was before you came on, Brian, these guys looked at a couple of examples of other like resource protection related ordinances, and that's kind of something sitting on the back burner. A lot of those are more like natural resources, like protecting woodlands, and there's some of the other ones we look at, like riparian areas were good examples of that. So we talked about that. Are you talking more utility related?
Utility habitat, utility was an example. So
Okay.
it would apply to all resources. So it could be habitat, like, you know, pulling a number out of there, you have to have 20% native plants.
Yeah.
As part of your landscaping proposal.
Okay.
You know, you need to account for the watering, the water utilization to maintain your landscaping, or you have to commit to, you know, maintaining your shade trees in an appropriate way, like things like
We
that.
actually did talk about this, and it was the Bushco guys that really,
Oh, they're so good.
yeah, they were
Oh,
awesome.
my God.
But to add to that, just an example, you know, a buffer for the road, you know, beautify the road, so we don't really wanna have to see certain things, or add,
So
you know,
is-
maybe minimal requirements, such as an example of
Is
that.
a code and ordinance review for that kind of stuff. And the other one we were talking about is like almost introducing something new. I see there's two kind of topics here. There's introducing something new, which is what we presented with like those resource protection ordinances. We just didn't have anything, like, great example, we have woodlands identified on the official map, but we don't have an ordinance that protects them. So we'd have to create something new to do that. But I think what you guys are kind of talking about is revisiting what's currently in our ordinances and kind of ramping them up from an environmental perspective.
From a restoration, like, it sounds like post-build restoration.
Yeah,
that
or
something?
it's
New
or
build, I would say.
new, yeah, it would be, so,
Yeah, but
great
after
example.
you've built it, restoring it. Because
Maybe
they,
and, but
yeah,
I mean,
strip
like,
down
a new
everything.
developer wants to come in, these are the things,
Yeah.
these are like
Yeah.
checklist of things, like.
yeah,
But not like established is what I think.
I didn't mean established,
Okay,
but
right,
like
I think,
after
yeah.
you've built a new build.
Yeah.
Then you can't just leave it looking like crap.
Great example is what we did.
Right, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
Another great
Yeah.
example is what we did with the PERT. So the PERT was easy because it was creating something new. So it was PERT we looked at, we established very specific criteria to buffers and like, you know, the berms and what that needed to be and all that. And that, you know, certainly from an environmental perspective. The idea, I think, is reviewing the existing codes, mostly subdivision land development, or even sections of the zoning ordinance where, hey, let's look at, like, zoning ordinance has a buffer requirement. It's like a 15-foot buffer between different uses. You know, if you have residential and commercial, you have to have a 15-foot buffer. That's all that it says, though. So the details of that, we need some change to. Is that something that you guys want to start looking at in this 2-year work plan? Understanding that is a very, very, I mean, I love it. We need to do that. We desperately need to do that with everything else that's going on. Like, do you want to put that in this work plan? Maybe that's kind of
Isn't
pushed
that what
back
like
a little
all
bit.
the power is though?
Absolutely.
That's, I mean, that's more,
That's
there's
everything.
more effect we can have there than any of the other stuff we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I get pretty
Yeah.
jazzed about that myself.
Yeah.
I know that's a big bear, and I'm not saying, I'm not.
No, I think you have a few of us that are really into reading that
That's the
stuff.
most.
Yeah.
that's
So
the
this would
most-
be,
the thing
this
I'm
would
most
be,
interested in.
Yeah, I mean, that
this
should
would
be
be
number one.
revising Salvo
Yes.
as opposed to just the PERT, right? And
Correct. It
more
would be-
generally looking at Salvo and
Yeah.
saying,
And I say, like, revising saldo, but that there's so much more. It's getting the EAC's input on saldo revisions is a better way to put it, because all this is gonna have to go through the township engineer, solicitor, staff, and all that. But if that's something that we're hearing from the EAC is a high priority, then we can, that, again, just like all the implementation projects for transportation planning, that helps us as staff fit that into our work plan to say, well, we have an active year with the EAC, they want to see these kind of changes, let's try to incorporate that, let's spend our time on that rather than something else.
Maybe that's another subcommittee.
I think so.
I think we probably all agree that is the most
Yeah.
effective.
Should we
use of
put
the
that
group.
like number one though? I mean, I feel like I don't like that it's the last thing we're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't
Because I
know
do
where
think-
this fit in your, you know, your priorities from the
Yeah.
committee. So, I mean, for us as staff, it's very, very high. I think there's other ordinance related things that we're probably trying to work through before we get to breaking into, you know, the existing ordinance and updating that. But again, this is supporting.
I don't think it
us.
necessarily should take the most of our time, something we should spend more time on, but I think it should be like, it should be very high. Personally,
Yeah, and-
I think it
and
should be very high priority.
to be
because where
fair,
the things get
Your
passed.
role in that will be
Yeah.
very minimal.
Yeah,
Like, as far as, I mean, you guys aren't gonna be going through all that, that's gonna be mostly staff, but understanding that, like, low commitment, high priority, it sounds like.
yeah, yes.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, that's.
Those are good objectives, low commitment.
Well, all of the
Let me
other stuff,
Woo!
I mean, like, all of the other, and that's where, like, as I develop this work plan, you just watch, I'll give you guys some work here. Because all this other stuff, like, whereas if you guys are taking more of this community outreach, the tasks of that, if you're taking more of that on, then that helps me spend more time over here, understanding that I don't have to do too much on that. And then, understanding too when to bring things to you guys. So I think it's great.
So could you summarize that, Chris?
Uh,
Just all the things.
We don't have to do much, but a lot's gonna happen.
Yeah, that part's good.
prioritizing participating in saldo revisions for environmental related topics. Saldo and zoning.
To review my second hours of work. No commitment, but I wanted to be around.
We're well over time, but I think we have a work plan.
Yeah,
We
this
did
is.
pretty good tonight, I think.
We're half hour over time, we're still not finished.
Yeah.
Well, our 5-minute land development review was not 5
Yes, no, it
minutes.
was not.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, the last agenda item, number 7. I did attend the most recent meeting of the Lehigh Valley EAC Network. It was pretty well attended, about 15 people, 15 different organizations were represented. I think there's a lot of value in us probably continuing to stay involved in that. I'll try to go to as many meetings as possible. I'll continue to let people know when those meetings are, and if others want to attend. We're going to try to rotate them so we're not all breakfast meetings, recognizing some people have more commitments. They're only an hour long, so they're not a big time commitment if you want to attend. We're going to ask different EACs to host the meetings, so I think at some point we probably would want to consider whether we want to host one, not quite yet. I mean, but we typically they're at a diner, and so we just have to find a diner in the township that would be willing to, set aside a couple tables for us if we want to do that. Yeah, a lot of different topics discussed. There was a lot of discussion on data centers at this last meeting. I will say, if your politics aren't conservative, this is probably not the group you want to sit down with, just as a prior warning. And that's all I'll say about that. So I don't know if we have anybody on the line, courtesy of the floor.
No, I have one thing for courtesy of the floor really quickly, just the Lehigh County Envirothon. We were hosting that again here at the township end of April. They look for volunteers. I don't know if anyone would be interested in volunteering for that, or if the EAC would like to have any involvement or presence at that.
What is
So
it?
the Lehigh County Envirothon, it is run by the county conservation districts. It's run in every county, and it's a middle school and high school. It's like almost like an academic decathlon,
Yeah.
all related to environmental topics. And so they compete at a county level, and they usually do a program related to something environmental. They participate in a test. Those tests are scored, and then the winning team gets a chance to go compete at the state level. So
Whoa.
And
yeah,
there's stations.
there's different stations.
There's different stations, different
So
topics.
yeah,
correct.
there's, for example, there's
Soil.
a forestry, soil station.
Forestry.
So they actually have, soil scientists dig out a pit. The students learn about something related to that, and then they usually get some information ahead of time on like the topics to study. Bless you. And then they'll take a test on, what soil types are these, when you combine them, what are they, so forth. An aquatic station where they actually get into the creek and they, look for macroinvertebrates, and then they take a test on that. There's a forestry station, and then there's usually a current initiative station, which are looking for topics on related to that. But all that to say is it's great that township, we just hosted, run by the conservation district, and all the schools in Lehigh County are able to send someone. Usually there's a couple teams from Parkland, Emmaus, Salisbury, and it's all day. So if anyone's interested, if you think this is something that now that they're kind of set here, we've run it here like 3 years now. If you think there should be a presence by the EAC, we can talk about what that looks like, whether it's just attending during lunch or something like that, if anyone's available. Or like I usually do a speech in the morning just to like introduce people to township. But they'll have like a lunchtime speaker. So they're one of the agencies that's represented there who helps administer the test. Sometimes they'll talk about something. Sometimes they'll bring in a speaker related. But if we were interested in like the EAC being a speaker, to just, again, you're directly interacting with the high school teachers at Parkland High School who volunteer their time to bring the environmental students in for this environmental competition. Might be a good opportunity to check off some boxes there. So if you think there's an interest, I can provide more details on like the dates and times, and I can talk to Laura at the Conservation District to see if she still needs a speaker. Or if anyone's just interested in volunteering, they're always looking for volunteers as well, or just showing up and seeing what it is and get some. And no, it's during the week, so it's usually I think it's a Wednesday and a Friday.
Yeah, if you'd send me dates sometime.
Sure.
I volunteered when my daughter was part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great competition. It's just great.
Yeah, send me the information.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send it out.
Send it
Yeah,
out.
I'll send it out to everyone, and if you have any follow-up questions as to like should we get involved and what that looks like, just give me a call.
Well, I like your idea. I think, boy, talk about hitting a couple birds, pardon that expression, because I don't hit birds, but you know what I'm saying? We're gonna have, it's to what Sarah talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, you're having the environmental kids
Yes.
participating.
Right.
Yeah.
And great, wow, if we could think of what we want to say or how we want to put it, yeah.
It's a quick turnaround,
Yeah.
but it's also planting the seed,
Yep.
unintended,
Yep.
for future years, because I think we'll continue to probably host it here.
I agree.
That's all I have. Sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's good.
All right, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Right at you, Mark.
I know. There's an experience here.
Yeah.
There's a track record.
Appreciate it.